By 1989, the 2D fighting game genre had fully bloomed into the beat-em-up wave of titles. Although they weren't true fighting games, arcade classics such as Sega's Golden Axe and Double Dragon introduced fans to fighting on a third axis, into and out of the foreground and background. Games such as Tato's Violence Fight and SNK's Street Smart were two titles that ushered in a new style of 2D fighter by incorporating that third dimension, and would later influence a new fighter of significant importance, Atari's Pit Fighter. Pit Fighter, developed by Atari, was released in 1990 and was the first fighting game to feature live actors who performed all of the character movement in front of a camera. This style of art replaced the hand-drawn and animated character sprites that we had seen up to this point, and would go on to influence one of the most successful fighting game franchises of all time, Mortal Kombat. Pit Fighter is a grudge match style fighter in which the combatants have the choice of three playable characters: Buzz, the ex-professional wrestler, Tai, a kickboxer, and Kato, a karate expert. Each fighter has different moves, speed, and power, Buzz being the strongest and slowest character, Kato being the quickest and least damaging, and Tai being somewhere in between. Along with the three playable characters, there are 8 unplayable opponents including Angel, Southside Jim, the Executioner, and the final boss, the Masked Warrior. In Pit Fighter, the player is given a simple 3-button layout: punch, kick, and jump. If all 3 buttons were pressed at the same time, a super move is deployed. The game can be played one-on-one, but up to 3 players can play at the same time, thus increasing the number of fighters faced on screen. The action in Pit Fighter was fast-paced and very mashy. When players were pushed to the edges of the screen, the crowd would push them back into the center, and sometimes knife them for extra damage. Though Pit Fighter wasn't a pure 2D fighting game, it contained elements that would carry on into the next wave of fighting games. The aforementioned digitized fighters seen in the Mortal Kombat series, and the third dimension foregrounds and backgrounds seen in Fatal Fury games had an impact on fighters heading into the mid-90s and beyond, and this could be potentially seen as the early beginnings of the 3D fighting genre. Now let's take a quick look back at the 1990 classic, Pit Fighter.